Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. A pedestrian has died after being hit in Prince Albert. Police say they were called to highways 2 and 55 about 4:30 Saturday morning, where a woman was found unconscious and not breathing. She had been hit by a vehicle while walking in the area. She was taken to hospital where she died. The woman driving the vehicle remained at the scene. No other information about the collision is available. Prince Albert police have arrested and charged a 45-year-old woman in relation to a fatal collision in August. On August 1st, around 10:15 in the evening, an officer saw a collision between a vehicle and pedestrians in the 1400 block of 2nd Avenue West. 34-year-old Amy LaRiviere and 56-year-old Warren Dalton were taken to hospital, but there LaRiviere passed away. The vehicle fled the scene. On Monday, police arrested and charged 45-year-old Danielle Kitsan. She appeared in provincial court today. The province says temporary housing units are being delivered to Denair Beach to support residents displaced from wildfires earlier this year. Hundreds of homes were destroyed by the fires this past summer, which caused around 20,000 people to be displaced across the province. Denair Beach was one of the hardest hit communities. Today, the province says there are 26 housing units in the community, with an additional 5 units arriving over the next few weeks. In a statement, Denair Beach Council says the temporary units are critical in supporting residents, thanking the town of Creighton for providing space for the housing units provided by the SPSA. The province says cleanup on 218 lots is nearly complete, and over half of the lots have now been backfilled. Parts of Saskatchewan got a taste of winter over the weekend with significant snowfall and even some power outages. This video was taken east of Tisdale. Environment and Climate Change Canada issued a special weather alert Saturday, which covered much of east central and south central Saskatchewan, including Saskatoon, Regina, Melfort, and Tisdale. The system moved in late Saturday night, dumping between 2 and 15 centimeters across the province. By Sunday, Sask power crews were out fixing outages caused by heavy wet snow and downed power lines. 8,500 people were without power, but it was restored by the end of the day Monday.
We had quite the change over the Thanksgiving long weekend with very warm temperatures to start the weekend out, but then a swift switch into more wintry weather, especially in parts of central Saskatchewan, which did see some snowfall accumulating. As we rolled through the weekend, there was a system that moved up from around the Montana area, bringing with it all of that moisture.
The snow has melted, and experts don't expect another storm like this for the next few weeks, but forecasting long-term is less accurate. Another earthquake was felt in the Esterhazy region for the second time in less than 3 months. Natural Resources Canada confirms a magnitude 3.7 earthquake 18 kilometers northeast of Esterhazy Sunday night around 11 o'clock due to what they call a suspected mining event. Mosaic says the epicenter was north of its K3 mine operation. All employees are safe and accounted for. So the long weekend, which brought with it some rotten weather, is over. We're looking at just clear skies the rest of the way, right?
Well, clear or sunny or mainly cloudy. We don't anticipate much in the way of precipitation. Some is in the forecast, John, but long-range forecasts not being as accurate as close-up. And wow, first I've heard of it. Anyhow, we got a fairly quiet pattern across the prairie provinces. Temperatures starting to rebound a little bit in BC and Alberta, and they will rebound in Saskatchewan and Manitoba, but it's not going to be, hey, we're back to the 20s. It just sort of is going to plateau a little bit, and we'll talk about that plateau later on.
As the union representing Canada Post workers has shifted to rotating strikes, Canadians can expect to see some mail, but delays and backlog will continue to be a challenge. A number of services that rely on physical mail are facing some uncertainty. SGI is reminding folks to hold on to their temporary license or ID cards while they wait for permanent ones to come in the mail. It's a protocol which has existed long before the Canada Post strike, but certainly comes in handy in instances like this. Now to a Saskatoon manslaughter trial. The Crown and defense have closed their cases and are preparing closing arguments in the Roderick Sutherland trial. Sutherland has pleaded not guilty to manslaughter, unlawful confinement, and offering an indignity to human remains in connection to the death of 30-year-old Megan Gallagher. Court heard Gallagher was killed in a Saskatoon garage while restrained to a chair. 9 people were charged in connection to Gallagher's death. Lawyers have filed written arguments asking the Saskatchewan Court of Appeal to uphold the judge's decision in a high-profile case involving the death of a child. In September 2021, Bailey Maurice was killed while crossing a Saskatoon crosswalk. The driver, Taylor Kennedy, admitted to using marijuana and magic mushrooms the day before. Kennedy was charged with impaired driving exceeding the prescribed blood concentration of THC, causing death. Last December, a judge stayed the charge, ruling Kennedy was not tried within a reasonable time frame. The Crown is appealing, arguing court backlogs and case complexity caused the delay. Kennedy's lawyers argue the judge made the right call. They say the case wasn't complex with only one charge, one accused, and one incident. They also argue that the Crown failed to provide enough evidence linking court backlogs to the delay. An appeal hearing is scheduled for November 5th in Regina. Dozens of healthcare employees say they're missing money on their paychecks and they want the province to step in with emergency funding. Service Employees International Union West, which represents the employees, says the issues come from the Administrative Information Management System, or AIMS. The new payroll and HR system for healthcare employees across the province was rolled out in 2021 but has been plagued with issues despite multiple attempts to launch it. With incomplete or incorrect schedules and missing pay, these workers are looking for the province to fix their mistakes quickly.
The problem is the grievances take time. And if I am getting paid 3 days from now and I don't get my pay, I don't have that kind of time to wait for a grievance process to fix this.
Last year, the provincial auditor forecasted AIMS would cost $250 million, 3 times more than its original price tag. After the break, hockey season means the return of the Kenaston Super Draft. We find out how the Postal strike may be affecting fantasy players this year. Hockey season is underway, and if you've seen the billboards, there's one super draft that you want to be a part of if you play fantasy sports. And I'm talking today with Deanne Bleakley, the office manager for the Kenaston Super Draft. And Deanne, exciting time of year, I'm sure, for everybody around Saskatchewan, especially those who participate in the draft. And I guess you guys are getting ready for all of the, pretty much the season to start.
We are, yes. Currently, as of today, because of Canada Post being back to work, we are mailing out all of our forms to our participants. It's about a week later than we normally would have. But with the mail on strike last week still, we were unable to kind of move forward with that. But as of today, we are. And that's kind of our first step, getting everyone the information. And then by, next week, people start emailing and faxing us. And then on the 27th and 28th of October, we have our actual bank of phone lines working where we take phone calls from our participants that rejoin us every fall and spring.
So tell us a little bit about the participants, and I guess maybe a little bit of the history, because, I'm not from Saskatchewan, but it takes one trip on the highways and you go, oh man, they got a fantasy league that is so big, it's got its own billboard. So tell us a little bit about the history of the league.
Sure. In 1984, some of the members of a Kenaston Lions Club came up with the idea of running a hockey pool to raise money for our small community. And so we've been here 41 years. And it started off way back when they were advertising in what was called the hockey newspaper. It was a weekly paper that was put out. They started by advertising in that, and that's kind of how they got going and got exposure to our draft. Over the years, it just kept growing and growing, and the prize money grew. And so now basically I've been doing this job for 10 years. And so basically for the last 10 years in the regular season, we do offer $90,000 in prize money. And we have a lot of participants that have been playing for the 41 years. And yeah, I think we are probably the longest running, hockey draft in, I would say, probably North America. And we offer a good prize because our top prize money is $20,000.
Obviously, with the postal strike, that's going to make things very difficult for you. And it made me think, well, you guys probably got a good amount of practice doing this or being nimble during the COVID pandemic. But you mentioned that you guys just had to shut completely down during COVID.
Yeah, we did. It was the spring of 2020 playoffs when they were supposed to start. That is when Canada was shut down and everybody was in lockdown. So we literally had to cancel, and there was no NHL hockey. Now the NHL hockey did resume in 2020, the end of the year or whatever, but there were still so many rules as far as people being together and, that kind of thing, that we were unable to run the draft just because we put a bank of phones together in our community hall and a bunch of people working on faxes. And so we all got to be in a close proximity and, working together. And there just wasn't enough leeway with the rules at that time for us to even operate. So anyway, we ended up having to cancel 3 total drafts. It was the spring of 2020, the fall of 2021, and then the spring of 2021. So the first time we kind of got back and rolling was the fall of 2021.
Excellent. Well, Deanne, I'm going to let you go because it is going to be a busy couple of weeks for you, but everything's set for a great season of hockey, and I'm looking forward to another season of the Kenaston Super Draft. So thanks for joining us, Deanne Bleakley, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Jeff takes a look at weather after the break, and later, doctors fear the rise of AI could be giving inaccurate health information. So, Jeff, we got the snow out of the way early. All those Halloweeners in a couple of weeks won't have to worry about it.
Wait, let's just hold on. Didn't you hear your own voice earlier on those long-range forecasts? We're just going to have to hold off a little bit. Look, we're hoping that's the case, but we do anticipate this fall and into the early part of the winter to be below seasonal in terms of temperatures. So we'll see if that helps to generate snow as we make our way towards the end of October. But right now, we're still keeping our eye on this system that's moving up through the Dakotas and through Minnesota into parts of Ontario and southern Manitoba. Really a pretty quiet pattern. I mentioned this earlier on as we make our way into the rest of the week. So some places the temperatures are bouncing back, but it's not going to be jumping up into anything that's going to remind you of what we had on Saturday. Let's take a look at our futurecast. So the computer modeling indicating still something sliding up through Montana into southern parts of the province. And as you can see, the pressure lines not really getting super close together, so moderate winds for Wednesday. On to our overnight outlook for the temperatures. -3 degrees in Spiritwood, -2 in the Battlefords, -3 in Candle Lake under clear skies. Most places in the Prince Albert region in this part of our map dealing with clear or clearing skies. -2 degrees for Birch Hills, -3 for Rostern, -2 in Nipawin and Melfort under partly cloudy skies or clearing skies in both those locations. Then on to Wednesday, 10 degrees in Spiritwood, staying in the double digits, but 11 degrees for the Battlefords under sunny skies. Mainly sunny conditions in Candle Lake, 9 degrees, mainly cloudy in Birch Hills, but also at 9 degrees. Back into the mainly sunny skies in Rostern, 9 degrees, 9 in Melfort and in Nipawin, and Nipawin and Melfort both anticipating a bit more in the way of cloud cover. The details for Prince Albert and area, well, tonight we're expecting to drop down to -4 degrees with clearing skies. The winds also back off, but then the clouds show up again tomorrow. 9 degrees for a daytime high, which is below seasonal, but not by a lot, a little below seasonal. Mainly cloudy skies, winds from the southwest at 20. And the 7-day outlook for Prince Albert and area, sunny skies and 13 degrees, so that's above seasonal on Thursday, and then 9 degrees on Friday, 11 on Saturday under mainly sunny skies, mainly cloudy, and 9 degrees on Sunday. Monday, there's a slight, ever so slight chance of showers, 7 degrees, staying at 7 on Tuesday, but we're not anticipating anything in the way of precipitation.
Well, there you go. I forget if I asked you this last week. Have you switched from heat or from cool to heat yet?
Depending. Exactly.
Cool to heat in your home.
In my home, okay, great. I wasn't sure where we were going there. You know what? The furnace has definitely kicked in. Now, I haven't cranked up the thermostat, but I may be very, very close to doing that. But yes, we had our Sunday was, a rude awakening, I think, for a lot of us. And so, yeah, it's time to start thinking about thermal underwear. Woohoo!
Yeah, my job this week, it might have to be filling all the little gaps around the window. So
that's a good idea. Maybe put some of that sort of super saran to insulate if you don't have have double pane windows.
Oh, I got some of that.
Oh, right.
Well, Jeff, a new era of hockey has hit the ice as Saskatchewan's dropped the puck on its first competitive senior hockey league exclusively for women. Allison Bamford has more on the special opportunity to play the sport longer.
I was definitely nervous.
Savannah Stevenson hasn't played on a competitive hockey team since finishing her U.S. college career in 2020.
Hockey was always an escape for me, so being able to get on the ice, I was able to leave everything at home.
And now she has that outlet back in Canada. This is the first game in the inaugural season of the Saskatchewan Senior Women's Hockey League. Before now, when girls aged out of university sport or the under-22 league, that was it.
There's so many girls that stop playing, stop being involved. It's just almost a sore spot because it's not there anymore.
This league fills a long-standing gap in a province that already has more than 100 senior men's teams.
This is step one. This is the groundwork, and it's going to become something, and we're a part of that first step.
Co-founders Jenna Merck and Megan LeBlanc built the league from the ground up, with the goal of giving women the opportunity to play competitively for longer.
It's going to be a learning year. Everyone knows that, and it can only get better from here on out.
11 teams across the province will play 12 regular season games, structured to strike a balance for players.
We're mothers, we're family people, we have jobs. To have that season a little bit shorter condensed so that people can plan around their schedules and we can have good quality talent, I think is really important.
Players say the launch of this league comes at a time when women's hockey is booming. The NHL hired its first ever female coach last year, and the Professional Women's Hockey League is entering its third season.
If you look at female hockey in general, there's a lot of huge things happening, and I think this league is another monumental moment.
A league of their own that they hope will stand the test of time. Allison Bamford, CTV News, Saskatoon.
For the first time since 2019, the Saskatchewan Roughriders are the regular season Western Division champions.
2022 draft class with Evelyn.
Harris towards the end zone. Got it. Touchdown Riders.
The Riders beat the Argos 27-19 on Friday night. The team's 12-4 record is the best through 16 games since the 1970s. 2 games left in the regular season have the Riders in Winnipeg this week and hosting BC next week. Saskatchewan will host the West Division final at Mosaic on November 8th.
Do you have a community event you would like to promote? Or maybe you'd like to draw attention to your organization. Let your local CTV station help you spread the word. Contact us at 306-922-6020 or email panews@ctv.ca. You can appear on CTV Prince Albert's News at 5 and get your message to our viewers.
Turning to artificial intelligence for medical advice is as easy as pulling out your phone. That's a risk because its advice isn't always accurate. But new research shows AI can be very persuasive, and experts say our faith in it is eating into valuable time with an actual doctor. Andrew Johnson has the story.
Complex medical advice at your fingertips, and new research proves AI is also really good at showing it cares.
The conversations with large language models were more persuasive than the ones with people. They were also considered more empathetic than people.
University of British Columbia researchers found ChatGPT was more persuasive and pleasant to deal with than an actual human.
When it's written in such an authoritative way and it has answers to everything you ask it, then of course you would assume that it knows what it's talking about.
Sometimes it doesn't, but AI is becoming so convincing. Doctors say patients are arriving to appointments already armed with a diagnosis they may place more trust in than they do in their physician.
Oftentimes people get it bang on, but other times people come across things and you spend a lot of time convincing them that that's not exactly what's the case. And that education piece, I think, takes a lot of time.
But with millions around the country unable to access a family doctor, the Canadian Medical Association says it's understandable patients are turning to anyone or anything that is available to help.
part of the reason people go online is that they can't get the access that they deserve. And when you have had a primary care provider over a period of time, then you build a trusting relationship. And then you can start having those difficult discussions whereby they will listen to you.
Face-to-face conversations that for many require waiting for hours at a clinic or emergency room to speak to a stranger. So they choose asking AI instead. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
Brought to you by Saskatchewan Union of Nurses. Thank you to Saskatchewan's 11,000 registered nurses.
All right, Jeff, I bugged you enough about things being on time or being accurate. You know who's really accurate is the trains. And here's a sign that the holiday season is right around the corner. The schedule for the CPKC holiday train has been announced. The holiday train will roll through Bredenbury, Yorkton, Foam Lake, Wynyard, and Saskatoon on December 6th. For the far south of the province, the train stops in North Portal, Estevan, and Weyburn on the 19th, Moose Jaw on the 20th, and Swift Current and Maple Creek on the 21st. The CPKC holiday train also raises money, and it collects food donations for food banks across the country. And since 1999, it's raised more than $26 million. Jeff, have you checked it out before?
We have. You know, we've done stories on it, and it always depends on what the schedule is, whether or not they do a concert. I think they often do the concert portion of it here in Saskatoon as well, but it's always the question of locations. I remember a few years ago, there was the bridge over on, I think it was 5th Avenue, up by the just sort of the overpass there on 33rd, and a lot of people clamoring to see the train. So, yeah, it's a pretty sweet part of the holiday season. And I do believe the holiday train also takes a route into the US of A as well, because it's, you know, it's all part of a much larger network now. I
was looking on the internet, and it kind of had like a red line going up through Saskatchewan, and then a green line kind of going down and through, you know, the Yorkton and Regina and all that stuff. So
fair enough.
Maybe there are kind of the red and the green. They got their holiday theme going already.
Woo, woo.
National news is coming up right away.